What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news right here on our YouTube page. Also streaming today live on Facebook as well. Thank you very much, each and every one of you, for certainly joining us. It is I, your host with the most, Adam Perez, back once again for a brand new episode. And thank you so much for joining us, considering the fact that we actually missed out on last weekend's episode. But we are, in fact, back, ladies and gentlemen, to go ahead and make sure that you guys are certainly caught up with all the news that's certainly going out there in nerd pop culture at the moment. So thank you very much. And of course, it's not just myself today. I've got my partner in crime certainly joining me. What's going on, Stuart? How you doing, buddy?
Doing really good. If you had asked me 30 minutes ago, though, I would have said dead.
I feel you, man. Trust me. I got up pretty quickly, jumped in the shower, walked my dog, running around like with a chicken, like its head cut off, man. It's been a crazy morning, but I'm glad to see that you and I are certainly both here, Stuart. How's your week been, man?
My week has been pretty chill for the most part. Nothing like super eventful, but nothing bad. So, that's a plus.
That's good, man. That's good. Avoiding that bad karma. I like it. But look, guys, today we got a ton of topics that we're going to be breaking down for you. There's even maybe a topic that I threw in that I really wanted to talk about last week and didn't get a chance to, that we went ahead and threw in here for you guys as well. So we're definitely going to get into a ton of topics for you guys. And of course, towards the end of the show, we'll get into your live viewer questions. How do you submit a live viewer question? I'm glad you guys asked today. Feel free to go ahead and submit them over to our email account at aplusopinions@gmail.com. You can send your questions out throughout the entire week if you want to. Anytime later on today, we will in fact get to your questions towards the end of this show. So if you have any questions in regards to any of the topics we talked about or anything that you've seen online that you want to go ahead and discuss and bring up, certainly go ahead and submit your questions over to aplusopinions@gmail.com. And of course, we'll certainly get to your questions at the end of the show. And of course, Stuart, we like to jump into the comments in and out whenever we can, but we can't get to everybody's. So if you definitely want to make sure that your question gets answered, certainly go ahead and submit your questions over to us. Who's in our live chat today? Who do we got in here? We got Power Rangers in your area. Aloha. What's up, man? We got Shadow Nova Productions in here as well. What's going on? It's good to see you, Shadow Nova. Thank you very much. And of course, if we get any stragglers that wind up joining us throughout the episode, feel free to certainly make them feel very much welcome. But guys, do us a big favor too. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do us a favor, hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification so that when we do drop brand new videos, you guys will certainly be notified, because we are in the process of trying to grow A Plus Hero Report once again. Now, for those of you who don't remember, we did have our channel A Plus Opinions, but unfortunately, since that wind up getting canceled, if you will, we wind up moving over to one of Stuart's old pages. So thanks again, Stuart, by the way, for allowing us to use your page.
Oh, no worries at all.
So we're just in the process of transferring and making that now A Plus Hero Report. So certainly show your love and your support, ladies and gentlemen. Stuart, before we get into this week's episodes, man, sometimes there are just things that don't quite make the cut. Sometimes there's just too much news to talk about. Is there anything in particular that you saw this week that we may not be talking about fully, but you want to go ahead and bring up today?
Yeah, two things. So one of them is the one I did a video on yesterday, which is the fact that for Stargirl they've now casted a new character and a new actor to play that character. Thunderbolt, that was the name. Basically the genie-like character. I didn't really have much to say in the video. I don't know how obvious it was. Essentially, when I was even making the video yesterday, I was literally just browsing through the internet and then just recording myself as I talk about the facts that I'm reading about with both the actor and the character Thunderbolt. The only thing I could find that I recognized the actor in was That 70s Show. So I mentioned that, I guess. But yeah, no, it is still really cool though, because one thing that did kind of come to my attention though with the announcement of that character is how many new characters we're going to be getting next season. And it kind of makes me wonder if, and don't get me wrong, I'm hoping they don't do the full 23, but I do think that we are getting more than 13 episodes next season with that. So I'm hoping, they do 16 episodes, because I think that's a perfect number for a CW show.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that 15 to 16 episode mark. Very similar to what of Black Lightning usually does that. So I'm hoping you're right. I hope that they give us a couple of more episodes in here to really fully fledge it out. Because yeah, you're right. There are a ton of characters that we're going to be getting. Thunderbolt. We also got the Shade, Eclipso going to be in there also, and we already know we got a huge JSA team as it is. So definitely a lot of characters for them. And I'm surprised. So you've never watched like comedian Jim Gaffigan's like any of his stand up comedy at all?
No, I don't think so.
Stuart, I think you would absolutely love him, man. Honestly, give him a shot if you get a chance to. If you just go on YouTube or Netflix, I'm pretty sure he probably has a couple of comedy specials. But I love the casting, especially if the genie or Thunderbolt, if you will, is going to have some sort of like a comedic element to him and things like that. Maybe be like a prankster or a jokester. I do think Jim Gaffigan is a perfect role for this. To be honest with you, I will really want to see what his interpretation of the character is going to be like. But yeah. I'm excited for season 2 of Stargirl, man.
Yeah, I am too, because season 1 was just so amazing.
Let me bring. I do want to bring up one other real quick. I'll just blaze through this. Darkwing Duck is getting a reboot. I wind up reading this past week, which is crazy because we literally just this past week on Twitter, I feel like, and on the internet, Gizmo Duck has been super popular with the amazing cosplay that somebody wind up putting together for Gizmo Duck. So it's just funny that Disney announces a Darkwing Duck reboot series. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to that. But what's the other one you got?
Going back to the Darkwing Duck thing, I feel like that's probably why they announced it. Like, it's probably been in the work for some time. Like, I mean, they've had the character reveal in the new DuckTales TV show on Disney XD. So it doesn't surprise me that they were eventually going to give him his own show again. But yeah, I feel like the only reason they announced it was because of that really awesome cosplay.
You might be right. They were like, hey, let's just take advantage of this momentum, right?
Exactly. Especially with all the other announcements for all these other like reboots for Warner Brother cartoons coming out. It's just like, well, we got our own reboots too.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. Even when we posted the article of Darkwing Duck coming back, the one thing I said was that I guess what's old is new again, right? Because we got Tiny Toons coming back, Animaniacs coming back, Beavis and Butthead is supposed to be coming back, Ren and Stimpy's getting a reboot. I mean, they're bringing back all these old shows once again, but Darkwing Duck right up my alley.
And then on top of that, I don't know if it was the week before last week. I said, okay, so when are we going to finally get Freakazoid coming back? Well, he came back kind of. It was in an episode of Teen Titans Go, and I still haven't seen it yet. But they brought Freakazoid back too. So there you go.
That's right. He always freaked me out as a character. His design, didn't he have like the jet black like hair that went back, and he wore like the mask and the big old green face? Wasn't that Freakazoid?
I mean, it was blue and his hair was blue.
Maybe that's what it was. Spiky. Yeah, like the spiky back. Yeah, man. Yeah. Freakazoid brings back some memories. Did you have another honorable mention also?
Yes, I did. Okay, so November 7th is what we as the Mass Effect fans refer to as N7 Day. And usually, and that's because, Shepard always has like the N7 symbol on his armor, right? So, usually when November 7th comes, there's always some sort of Mass Effect related news. And we got that, and we were expecting it was going to be like the announcement of an HD re-release of the trilogy, and it was that. But on top of that, they also did announce that a new Mass Effect game would be in development soon, which gets me excited. The sad thing about it was that like no one really heard about it because it came. I feel like the news came out at the worst possible time because everyone was kind of distracted with like the election, so like no one's talking about the fact that there's a new Mass Effect game in development, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, I was wondering. I kept thinking to myself, like, why is news so slow this week? Like, there's hardly any articles or topics to talk about last week, and I guess it was because everything was being overshadowed by the election. So I'm glad you brought that up, man. Because listen, while I have never finished the Mass Effect trilogy, I did play the first and second games, and I absolutely loved them. But I never finished the third, so I do want to go back to Mass Effect at some point in time. So I'm glad you wind up making this announcement, man, because I had no clue that they were doing this.
Make sure you download the extended cut because the original ending is so bad.
Oh no, really? Okay. Yeah. All right, maybe I'll go ahead and do that.
It's free.
Nice. Yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and check it out. Have you gotten a new Xbox or PS5 yet?
Trying to. They're sold out everywhere.
Yeah, I didn't pre-order one or anything like that. Then again, I don't have $500 to just drop for a brand new system either. So we'll see what happens on that front. But regardless, I plan on getting a brand new system here hopefully soon. But other than that, guys, that will do it for our honorable mentions. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the main topics. You ready to go ahead and tackle this day, Stuart?
Oh, yeah, you know it.
All right, man, let's go ahead and jump into it. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, the one topic that we definitely want to go ahead and bring up is our Disney Plus Marvel shows are headed this way. Right now, Disney Plus is currently airing The Mandalorian season 2, which I'm assuming, if anything, will probably wrap up this upcoming December. And right after that, a lot of people are asking, hey, Disney Plus, what's the next series that you're going to be dropping for us to certainly binge and certainly enjoy? Well, Marvel decided to finally go ahead and give us one of their series in WandaVision. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. WandaVision is about to be here. Now, a lot of us were under the assumption that WandaVision was going to go ahead and drop in December. Disney Plus did go ahead and release a trailer a few weeks back showcasing what was still to come in 2020. But unfortunately for us, it has been pushed back just a little bit, as Disney has in fact revealed that Wanda will in fact be premiering this upcoming January. And with that comes to us a fantastic article from Entertainment Weekly that decided to go ahead and finally dive a little bit more into this particular series. Again, this is from Entertainment Weekly, an exclusive, and they got some really fantastic photos also. We'll even highlight some of those for you. But it says, "Honey, I'm Chrome." Marvel prepares to take over TV with WandaVision. Who comes up with these article titles, man? Good job with that, Devin Kogan. It says, last year, the notoriously secret Marvel Studios did something unprecedented. It opened its set to visitors. WandaVision, the 6-hour series about Elizabeth Olsen's reality-altering witch and Paul Bettany's charming android, takes inspiration from beloved TV comedies, from campy 1950s classic to the zany family shows of the 90s. So for its premiere episode, Marvel's first Disney TV show went full mid-century sitcom, filming in classic black and white in front of a live studio audience, all of whom signed a very, very strict NDA. It says even crew members came to the set in 50s era clothing and used period lenses and lighting to capture that dreamy vintage glow. The special effects team employed wires and camera tricks straight from Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie, making wine bottles appear to pour on their own and household appliances zoom about like magic. And when Vision's familiar maroon skin didn't quite look right in grayscale, the makeup artist painted Bettany blue instead. Stuart, just coming out of the gate in these two paragraphs, can I have this series now, please? I mean, the fact that they really went so far out of their way to just bring back the feel of some of these classic television shows, right up my alley. I mean, if you even remember, like going back to looking at the trailer that we got, right? I mean, we got the opportunity to literally see Elizabeth Olsen sort of going through a ton of different eras of television shows. So I'm expecting this series, like it said, from 1950s classics to family shows of 90s. I'm expecting 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and maybe even today, to be honest with you. I really want to see them touch on a little bit of everything in here. But just from these two paragraphs alone, Stuart, when you hear this and the amount of effort that they certainly put into it, I mean, even having the crew members dressed like up in the clothing, what are your thoughts about just their mindset going into this particular show?
Gets me so much more excited. It actually reminds me of the exact thing I love about Mel Brooks movies, which is like that whole idea of just because you're parodying something, just because you're kind of, or not parodying something like necessarily, but when you're doing a satire of something, that's not really an excuse to just be lazy with it and just like, kind of half-assed it, if that makes sense. And I like that this show isn't doing that. It seems to be going like all out. Like I would have just accepted the idea of it being in black and white and then them using the strings for like kind of the special effects, just to, add the little charm to how obvious it is. but the fact that they went out of their way to also have a live studio audience for it as well, and film it the same way like you film a sitcom with multiple cameras, that really kind of blows my mind and gets me even more excited for the show than I already was.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to worry about like a laugh track or anything, right? Because you actually have the audience there and stuff. I can't wait to see how it comes together. I mean, when we go back to even when we go back to the article here, let me see if I can go ahead and bring it up. It says Bettany and Olsen rehearse their entrances and exits as if putting on a play. And at first, they say the notion of live performance terrified them more than any Marvel supervillain. But by the time they secured their first audience chuckle, the pair realized that they might have missed their calling as sitcom stars. Elizabeth Olsen says it was insanity. There was something very meta for my own life, because I would visit those tapings as a kid where my sisters were working on Full House. Yeah, and I was thinking about that too. Like, that's got to be pretty trippy for her to a certain extent, to be able to be back on sets like that, right? Like, she hasn't seen sets like that in years, I'm sure. And considering the fact that she grew up with the Olsen twins during that time period, this is a really cool, like, just homage, I think, to them as well. And when they talk about the idea of rehearsing their entrances, I just picture like them opening the door, somebody steps through, and then the crowd applauses, just like really classic sitcom stuff. I cannot wait for this, Stuart. I love the sound of this, man.
Oh yeah, me too. And yeah, like I said, just that extra effort that they're putting into to make sure it all feels very authentic. Like, they didn't have to do that, but they're doing it anyways, just to really get you into the mindset of where our characters are at. And I love that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Let me see. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here more because this article is relatively long, to be honest with you, but I wanted to go ahead and focus on maybe some of the other plot details here with you guys. So let's go ahead and bring this back up to, let me see if I can get this. All right, here we go. So this also says that it's set after Endgame. The series starts with the married witch and android living in the idyllic town of Westview. They go on to say, we find Wanda and Vision living a blissful suburban existence, trying to keep their powers under wrap, is what the showrunner winds up saying. A show about escaping into the soothing world of television seems particularly timely in the year 2020, but as the newlyweds cycle through the decades and the familiar TV tropes, they realize their white picket fence life may not be as gleamingly picture perfect as it seems. Even with all the sitcom shenanigans, the series remains grounded in Wanda and Vision's tender romance. They've had a long and gentle love affair, right, is what Bettany says. It's a pretty quirky relationship. She's a witch, he's a robot or artificial person or a synthezoid or whatever you want to prefer a name tag. It's always so appealing when outsiders find each other, is what the showrunner said. They're both different with capital D's. Wanda has so much more pain and Vision has so much more curiosity. So yeah, let's tackle that before we even get into some of the other side characters also. So when you hear them talk about really how this starts right after Endgame and sort of the mindset that we find our characters in, what are a couple of things that come to your mind here, Stuart?
Actually, first thing that kind of comes to my mind, because I like that they're not telling us how Vision's back or anything like that. They're not telling us how we're into this world. So it sounds like the show is just going to start like by throwing you into this, crazy world that's been created. And it kind of reminds me of what Robert Cargill, he's the guy that wrote Doctor Strange. It reminds me of what he said. You always, as a writer, want to know that 2 + 2 = 4, but you want your audience to think that 2 + X = 4. Don't tell them what the X is until the very end of the film, that kind of a thing. And that seems to be what they're going for here. So, I always think that's a great way to tell stories.
Yeah, and I think for us too, it'll be really cool to kind of see those slow reveals about what's truly happening, even affect the characters, right? Because it feels like one of them, if anything, I feel like it's probably going to be Vision that's going to start realizing maybe the chinks in the armor. Like, okay, things really are not as quite as it seems. I mean, even from the trailer, you get to see like when one of the characters even mentions to him, like, aren't you supposed to be dead or something like that? And Vision realized, like, what are you talking about? So I think there is going to be a very slow burn as far as like a reveal especially when it comes to Vision, of realizing that this life that Wanda has certainly created for them may not be as, like the article says, may not be as white picket fence as they certainly think that it's going to be. So I do love the way that it feels like it's certainly going to kind of play itself out, with a lot of mystery certainly still behind it as well. The article also goes on to say, when talking about some of the characters, let me go ahead and bring this up. It says Westview also introduces a few new faces. Catherine Hahn stars as Agnes, the prototypical nosy neighbor who gleefully inserts herself into Wanda and Vision's life. She says, "I've always loved that gasp of human magic that they have," is what Catherine Hahn said. "It's not like I had never done anything like this, but especially since becoming a mom, I've always been interested in those jolts of adrenaline and humanity." It also goes on to say, also new to the cast is Teyana Paris, who plays the grown-up version of Monica Rambeau. The Louisiana-born Monica debuted as a young girl in Captain Marvel, and the show's creators are tight-lipped about how adult Monica fits into the world of Westview. The character has a long comics history. She was the first female African-American Avenger, and she also points out that she was frequently fought by the side with Wanda and Vision, and over the years she's gone through many heroic names: Photon, Pulsar, Spectrum, and Captain Marvel, being the first woman to use that moniker even before Carol Danvers. This is what Teyana Paris says. She says, "I feel so special and honored to be able to walk in her shoes and bring her story to life. I hope that me playing this character gives a group of people who are represented a chance to see themselves, and seeing my face and my black body helps them engage with Black women and our humanity." I got to say, I think out of all the characters that we have here as far as side characters go, Teyana Paris is probably the one that jumps out at me, simply because of the fact that we've already kind of seen a version of this character in Captain Marvel, like the article states, but we really don't know what she's been up to this entire time, since that huge time gap from that particular moment to here. So I'm really hoping that there's an element of this show that kind of fills us in on her past a little bit. How does she find herself in Westview in the first place, sort of thing, right? Is she working for an organization? Is she out there on her own? Has she over the years grown a relationship with that of Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel and all those other characters? I'm going to be really fascinated to see how she plays a role in here, because for me, I hope that because of the fact that we have a grown-up version of Monica now, maybe that means we'll get some superhero abilities from her at some particular point in time in the MCU. Maybe this phase even. We'll certainly see. But I think her appearance in here really sparks my interest and curiosity even more. What about you, Stuart? How are you feeling about Teyana Paris as Monica, and just any of these side characters in general?
Gets me excited for a couple of reasons, really expanding that universe, and I was really surprised too when they originally announced that, because I would have figured if they introduced a grown-up version of her, it would be in Captain Marvel. So it really surprises me that her introduction is going to be in WandaVision. And yeah, like you said, I'm very intrigued as to what her role is going to be in the show and how she ends up meeting Wanda and Vision. If it's like maybe she was hired to spy on them, or maybe she, like you said, might just be, pure coincidence. She just happens to be meeting them, but she just moved there for her own, reasons, essentially. I also do love how the actress seems to be really excited about this role, because, it does, usually the actors that tend to enjoy their roles tend to give a much better performance. So kind of like listening to that interview that you were reading out loud, definitely seems like we're going to be getting some cool performances from her as well. You're muted.
Appreciate the heads up. I'm really looking forward to seeing what she winds up actually bringing to the series for sure. And then let's just go ahead and wrap this up here with the last section. It says, ideally, Marvel hopes WandaVision will be just the pilot episode of a long-running TV dynasty. The studio is already hard at work developing 7 additional shows, with each one connecting to past and future films. WandaVision, Kevin Feige notes, will directly set up the 2022 film Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness, with Olsen's Wish playing a key role alongside Benedict Cumberbatch's Sorcerer. With the pandemic shuffling release dates, Marvel is also taking extra care to ensure the new schedule won't spoil story continuity. But But for now, the Marvel Studios president just hopes fans will connect with WandaVision's trippy delusion of suburban comedy, much in the way that Disney's The Mandalorian rewarded diehard Star Wars enthusiasts while also attracting new ones. I really hope that's certainly the case, man, especially when it comes to this particular series. Honestly, I mean, this is actually going to be Marvel's first foray of, I guess you could say, hurrah into the television side of things for Disney Plus, since they wind up canceling all the Netflix things. So this will be interesting to see how they what their first step forward is certainly going to be like for them. Hopefully it's certainly not a hiccup. I think that I don't want to say that this is a risky first series, because I think originally it was supposed to be the Falcon and the Winter Soldier that was supposed to go ahead and kick off this television series for Disney Plus. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how people react to a show that's half sitcom, half movie at the end of the day. But I'm eager to at least hear them say that despite all the shuffling and release dates, that they're at least really doing their best to pay attention as to not spoil anything or ruins kind of that story continuity. Because for me, honestly, Stuart, I think that's probably one of my biggest worries. Was it one of your biggest worries at all, or no?
I don't think I was ever worried about that. The only kind of thing I was slightly kind of curious about is whether or not they would care too much about the order in which the films are released, in terms of I'm explaining this really terribly. I'm sorry. In terms of like whether or not they would be releasing the shows and the movies in chronological order or anything like that. So, because if they did that now, I don't think anyone would blame them for that, because it would totally make sense. And I feel like nowadays with the internet, it's like anyone can easily Google when these movies take place. I don't think they would ever have to worry about confusion or anything like that. So,
True.
that's kind of the thing that I'm kind of the most curious about, is if they do that. But I was never worried about actually creating plot holes through doing so. It just means that you as the audience member have to like put a little more thinking into watching these movies of, okay, so, clearly this hasn't happened yet because, this isn't going on here. So this clearly has to take place before it or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely hoping that they keep everything in order for sure, man. Because I really want this story, especially for Phase 4, especially with all the delays due to the pandemic and stuff. I'm ready to kind of just get into this story mode, honestly, of this next phase of Marvel movies and storylines. The article also went ahead and showcased us some brand new photos from the series. I think there was like 6 brand new photos that we get the opportunity to see, all of them which are actually in black and white. So a part of me is kind of curious if this is if all these photos are kind of taking place within like that first episode or two. But who certainly knows? We get to see here, looks like maybe Scarlet Witch is realizing that she's pregnant there with one of her kids, perhaps. Get the opportunity to see them again in another black and white setup. We've got Catherine Hahn here as that nosy neighbor that winds up coming through. And this is another photo here also, Stuart. This is one where they were just talking about in the article how they were using going back to the classic like strings and television magic work of having some of these objects float around and kind of go all over the place. You can see like her salt and pepper shaker or whatever the case is up in the air. Her food is kind of floating and stuff. I think that's a pretty cool shot, honestly. And then of course we've got Wanda and Vision.
Separate beds.
Wanda and Vision in the separate beds, going back to that classic trope of television TV sitcoms back in the day, man. Man, I can't imagine having 2 separate bedrooms. What were the 50s and 60s all like that?
Not in terms of history, just in terms of sitcoms. Yeah, they always had like the separate beds, which I always thought was like hilarious in these old school sitcoms. Yeah,
I guess maybe they were trying to show like a good, I don't know, example to kids or something like that. If they were, I don't know, like I don't know why they would. I think they were afraid to showcase that on television of a married couple sleeping in the same bed.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I always thought that was like really weird.
It's weird to me.
I think even people at the time thought it was weird. That's why it didn't last.
Like the only people in my life I've ever known to sleep in separate bedrooms are like grandparents, like in the 70s and 80s. They're like, you know what, you take this bedroom, I'm gonna take this bedroom.
Yeah, because like at that point, you kind of need the extra space to yourself when you're that old, you know.
I guess that's true. I guess that's true. Let's see here, but yeah, guys, listen. At the end of the day, WandaVision is certainly on its way. I believe it's January 15th or 14th. That the show is certainly going to debut. So definitely go ahead and check it out whenever you certainly get the opportunity to. I'm really pumped for it. Hopefully, look, I'm already stoked on the Mandalorian right now, so I'm pretty good. A part of me was kind of hoping that we would jump from the Mandalorian directly into WandaVision. But I can wait a couple of weeks. I can wait a couple of weeks.
I don't know if I can, man. I need this Marvel show now, especially because we've gotten like no Marvel content this entire year.
This is true, right? Yeah, because I did hear somewhere online that it was like this is the first year in like since like 2009, or it's like it's been forever since we have not had anything Marvel related when it comes to like television shows or like movies, or I could say movie wise, nothing's been released this year. That's kind of crazy to me, man.
Yeah, the closest is what was the show on Hulu, the one that just came out, Hellstorm. Hellstorm, yeah, because like I mean technically I guess it's in the MCU because they were going to connect it to Ghost Rider, which is part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, you know, it is technically in the MCU, but the director of the show himself kind of confirmed like he wrote it as if it took place in its own universe.
I mean, Marvel won't even put their name on the title, bro.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
It's crazy to me. Like they're just like, we don't want to be affiliated with that. Like that's crazy to me. I still haven't even given the show a shot yet, but maybe I'll put that on my watch list also, along with so many other shows that I have to watch. Before we move on, though, real quick, Stuart, the article did mention 6 hours of WandaVision. How do you think the episodes are going to be formatted for WandaVision? Do you think because they say it's 6 hours that it's just going to be 6 episodes? Do you think maybe they'll break that up into like 40-minute segments and maybe give us 8? Do you think maybe they'll go classic sitcom and maybe 20 to 30-minute episodes to start off with? What are your thoughts? If you had to guess.
So my assumption is that they're going to do it Mandalorian style. So it'll be like every episode just has a really random number on it for amount of time.
Good point.
But the moment you said 20 minutes for like sitcom style, I think the very first episode will be like 20 minutes long. Because I feel like knowing how this show it seems to be going for a lot more of a mystery aspect to it, I feel like the first episode will until like the very end when like kind of Vision starts to realize like something's not right. I feel like they're going to play it totally straight as if it's a sitcom, like no hints that it's not just an average sitcom, essentially. Until the end.
I really want to be on board with you with that idea because I do love that idea. If anything, I was just thinking to myself, like, it would be really cool if maybe like the first couple of episodes, maybe the first 2 episodes were like the same lens as a sitcom. But considering the fact of how many fans have been waiting for a WandaVision show and an MCU show on Disney Plus, you know how many people would be pissed if they got like a 22-minute episode of WandaVision for their premiere? I think if anything, maybe like, let's say like 30 minutes or maybe like 31 or 32 minutes, like have majority of it be a sitcom, but at the end, maybe do some weird sort of transition to where it's more like a cinematic, like wrapping up of the episode itself, you know? So it does kind of move into that more movie element side of things to wrap up the episode. But I still think maybe the first 2, you kind of keep like sitcom length with a little bit of hint of mystery as to what's really going on here, you know what I mean? But it'll be interesting to see what happens, man. But yeah, if anything, I would say give me 8 to 10 episodes if you can.
Yeah, I would assume somewhere between 6 to 8 episodes in total.
Yeah, you're probably more along those lines. How many episodes does The Mandalorian usually carry?
8.
Do they have like 8? Okay,
season 1 had 8. I'm assuming it's going to be the same for season 2.
Yeah, I think an 8 might be a really good number, but we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, at the end of the day, we definitely want to know your thoughts. Now that you know WandaVision is in fact debuting for us in January, what's your level of excitement for this upcoming show? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Stuart, let's go ahead and tackle this next topic here.
Oh, actually,
What's up?
this
What
was
you got?
kind of funny. Just a comment here, because of earlier talking about like if they started releasing Marvel movies kind of out of order. Someone brings Power Rangers in your area brings up a good point. Like they kind of did that with the Fast and Furious films when they had like the whole thing where. They had like one of their characters killed off in the third film, but they still used him right up until the seventh film when they're like, okay, now we're caught up to where the third film took place.
Yeah, I guess you can certainly use that as an example for sure. Hopefully, Marvel. I'm hoping Kevin Feige has a better head on his shoulders to know how to navigate that a little bit more than Fast and the Furious certainly did. But yeah, it's a perfect example. There was also I want to also show some love real quick to Tracy Lee for popping up in here. She's talking a little bit ahead of us in regards to the Painkiller for Black Lightning. But yes, I definitely know you certainly love you some Black Lightning. I'm glad, Tracy, that you certainly found us for sure. If you get the chance, Tracy, because she used to follow us on our A Plus Opinions YouTube. When you get the chance, Tracy, go ahead and find us at A Plus Hero Report. That's where we're moving all of our Black Lightning reviews and stuff to going forward for season 4. So I definitely want to make sure that you're on board there, Tracy. So definitely go ahead and subscribe to us at A Plus Hero Report on YouTube whenever you get the opportunity to. But yeah, just wanted to go ahead and show Tracy some love because she's always been a really great supporter when it comes to our Black Lightning reviews. All right, Stuart, you ready to go ahead and jump into the next topic today?
Of course.
All right, awesome. And the two things in life that are always guaranteed, love and thunder, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Thor 4 is almost here. And we're getting additional cast members that continue to be added to this cast or to this movie. And I continue to be thrilled about it, to be honest with you. Right now, this actually comes to us from Superhero Hype, letting us know that the next person that's actually going to be a part of Thor Love and Thunder, Chris Pratt, ladies and gentlemen. Star-Lord himself plans on joining this particular film. It says report Chris Pratt will be joining the cast of Thor Love and Thunder. It says back in Avengers Endgame, Thor stepped down from his role as King of Asgard and took off with the Guardians of the Galaxy to parts unknown. But it looks like the Asgardian of the Galaxy will be back together in Thor Love and Thunder. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Chris has signed on to reprise his role as Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. I'm about to call him Time Lord. Peter had a semi-contentious relationship with Thor in both Endgame and Infinity War. Additionally, Peter clearly seemed to believe that Thor was undercutting his status as the Guardians leader. Those feelings of insecurities are unlikely to go away in the new sequel. Pratt will also be back for Guardians 3 whenever that film finally begins production. So the cast continues to grow, Stuart, in regards to this. Chris Pratt is in fact joining Thor Love and Thunder. If I had to take my guess here, though, Stuart, to be honest with you, I don't necessarily know if he's going to have a huge role in this film. A part of me hopes that he does, but I really do want this film to really focus on the main story of Jane, honestly, as Mighty Thor. I mean, if we're really going out of our way to bring Natalie Portman back to hand her the hammer, a part of me is really hoping that she's definitely going to get the most of the focus here. But I definitely hope that Chris Pratt certainly has a memorable part of Thor Love and Thunder, whether that be, hey, I'm his taxi driver and I'm dropping Thor back off to Earth for you, Jane, so you guys can have whatever types of conversations that you certainly still need. Maybe it's the beginning of the movie to kind of show just some of the adventures that Thor and the rest of the Guardians have certainly been on. I would be completely open to this. Now, this makes me also wonder, like, are we going to see other Guardians of the Galaxy characters sort of pop up in here? Regardless, I'm just thrilled that they've managed to kind of make Thor and the Guardians just coexist together now all of a sudden as like one entity as part of the franchise. So if Chris Pratt wants to come in here, I can never get enough of Chris Pratt's humor. And when you've got somebody like Taika Waititi who's going to be writing and doing this, I just know that the humor and just some of the timing and the lines are going to be perfect when it comes to Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth together. The two Chris's. That's all I need in this film, and is just this news alone definitely continues to get me excited for this film. But what do you think, Stuart?
Dude, this actually gives me a huge sense of relief because a part of me was so worried when Thor: Love and Thunder was announced and Taika Waititi was saying it wasn't going to have like the Guardians of the Galaxy in it. Part of me was just like super worried that this meant that they were just going to totally pretend like the ending of Endgame, where he just kind of like tags along with him, like just didn't happen. So with this though, it does give me hope that we could still get that as Guardians of the Galaxy film, because this was something I did not know I wanted until Endgame, until the ending of Endgame. But it's one of those things where now that they've said, something like this could happen, it's now like the number one Marvel movie I want to see is Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So what I'm wondering if they're doing here, and I think it might be like with how close a lot of the directors are to each other with Marvel Studios, part of me is kind of wondering if this is them dipping their toe in that idea, kind of like seeing how the two Chris's play along side by side. And if they play out really good together, then maybe we might get more Chris Hemsworth in Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Yeah, no, I definitely hope so. Also, because clearly James Gunn is clearly James Gunn is going to be working on Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, he has mentioned the idea that his script hasn't really changed too much, but maybe there will be some changes to the script if this is pretty successful. I mean, why wouldn't you want to put Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth in your movie together after all the success that they had from Infinity War and Endgame, just working off of each other? So I'm really thrilled about this. And you bring up a good point too about them kind of filling that gap as to what happened after Endgame, because that was the last thing that we saw was Chris Hemsworth as Thor leaving with the Guardians. And so what have they been up to? I really want to see what some of their adventures are definitely going to be like. And I'm pretty sure there's certainly going to be plenty of time for them to squabble about who's the leader still, especially after all this time. But I can't wait, man. I think this is a great addition to the cast. I just hope that this doesn't overshadow the main storyline for the Mighty Thor, certainly going forward. But you can't go wrong with two Chris's, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it won't. Like, I'm sure that Star-Lord will have a memorable part, but I don't think he's gonna take over any screen time that was like meant for other characters. I'm sure that we're still gonna get a great Thor movie with Jane Foster becoming the new Thor.
I really would love to see I really would love to see Star-Lord sort of be like that relationship guru for Thor going forward. Like, him coming back, Jane's back, now she's the new Thor, right? Maybe there's some conversation of maybe we should try and rekindle this relationship. Maybe we should make this work. Maybe you got Chris Pratt over here trying to nudge Thor into a certain direction. Go talk to her, man. You haven't talked to her. Like, I would love to just see them break down some how to handle relationship talk. I think that would be great between these two, especially with the return of Jane Foster. So I'm excited. But yeah, I think like you, I don't expect them to have a huge role in here, but definitely enough to make this film even more enjoyable for sure. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I could even see him bragging about his relationship with Gamora, and then Thor pointing out she doesn't even know who you are.
Yeah, sure. She ran away from you, man. What are you talking about? You're trying to find her. She doesn't want to be with you. Like,
yeah.
I told her, give it to me, man. Give it to me. I think it's going to be fantastic. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. Now that you know that Chris Pratt is planning on being in Thor for Love and Thunder, what are some of your thoughts? How do you think he's certainly going to fit into this particular role? Do you think he's going to take away from the overarching story? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. All right. And with that, Stuart, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. We're going to go ahead and depart Marvel for just a little bit and talk maybe some video game movie news for you guys today, because one of the movies that I think a lot of people were really anticipating was in fact Mortal Kombat. The first Mortal Kombat, I think, is an iconic film for some of those, for some of us, maybe not the best, but definitely it feels like a cult classic for many, for sure. The sequel, kind of forgettable for many, but it's been a while since we've actually had ourselves a Mortal Kombat movie. But within the past couple of years, they definitely have been in the process of developing it. I believe Ludi Lin from Power Rangers is actually going to be the main star in the movie, as well as Liu Kang. And the filming has already finished and wrapped for Mortal Kombat. It's currently in post-production. But is there a chance that we may not see this movie for quite some time? Let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. This is another article that we wind up getting from superherohype.com, letting us know that Mortal Kombat producer says that the reboot film has been pushed back, unfortunately. It says late last year, the Mortal Kombat reboot finished filming with an eye towards an early 2021 release. January 15th, 2021 was originally planned to be the release date. However, the coronavirus pandemic has apparently scuttled those plans. The producer, Todd Gardner, recently confirmed that the cast has been assembled for reshoots, which reshoots are normal when it comes to movies, so nothing out of the norm there. But he also indicated that the film has been pushed back and won't get a new release date until movie theaters open again. This is what he says in the tweets. He says, well, I thought by the cast's social media, you would have figured out we're shooting a few more days. We'd always planned for it and thought we'd do it in March. The pandemic had other plans. We won't have a release date for the movie until theaters reopen. Same for the trailer. So yeah, and then they go ahead and highlight just all the other actors and the stars that are supposed to be in this particular film. So Stuart, no release date, no trailer for this movie. It's kind of just in limbo right now. It's almost as though they're just sitting on this project. I mean, clearly it does state that, yes, we do have reshoots that we're going to be working on. But after those reshoots, it seems as though things are just kind of up in the air for this particular film. What are your thoughts as a fan? Does this bum you out a little bit? I mean, would you think will this movie see the light of day? Do you think? What are your thoughts in regards to this?
I mean, first of all, they should have had that release date changed like before the pandemic. Don't release a movie like this in January. You're just dooming it to fail. Like, what were they thinking?
Yeah, I feel like if anything, Stuart, maybe it's maybe they don't even believe in the movie, man.
Oh man, see that actually kind of worries me even more than them pushing it back now. No, but like with this, I think they're in a really good spot where, unlike Wonder Woman, unlike Black Widow, they haven't even released a trailer for this. So I don't think them pushing this film back is going to affect it in any way. The negative, impact that Wonder Woman and Black Widow are going to have is that people have been looking forward to this movie for so long, and not being able to get it for so long is going to it's gonna like make people just kind of like not care when they finally do get released, is like my kind of worry. But with this movie, they don't have to worry about that because they haven't even released a trailer, like I said. So I'm not worried at all with it getting pushed back. It totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still just throwing out hypotheticals in regards to like, will this movie ever see the light of day?
It definitely will.
Yeah, I definitely do think that it certainly will. They've definitely put money towards it. Now, will it be any good? That's certainly a different question. We'll have to see when we cross that bridge. But I think this makes sense, right? I mean, you haven't showcased us any footage at all. So while fans, I think for the most part, are eager to see this film, they're not like, give it to me now type of thing, right? So I feel like this movie can benefit from sitting on the shelf a little bit, trying to see how the movie theater sort of landscape plays itself out. I don't even know how much money they've invested in making this film. So who's to say that if movie theaters don't open up again next year, or if they're still continuing to push back in the landscape of movie theaters changes, maybe this is a film that can go to like VOD or go on to a streaming service, I guess, depending on how much money they've really have put into this production. But I think you're right. The fact that they haven't really shown us anything yet does bode well for them in regards to being able to do what they need to do and just kind of sit and work on post-production in the process, really make sure that this movie is tight the way that they certainly need it to, make sure that they've got all the stuff put together finally, and then when they know wherever that next opening for themselves is going to be, maybe they'll be able to slot themselves in. But I do think it's going to be super dependent on how the movie theaters situation is looking going forward. But hopefully this movie will see movie theaters, because I much rather see it in theaters. But I'm just a movie theater guy. I'd rather see all my movies in movie theaters if I could have my way. But I know some people certainly at this point just don't care. They're just like, give it to me. But I do think you're right. I do think that this puts Mortal Kombat in a good position, at least, even though it does leave us with a ton of question marks right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fully agree. But in terms of it making its money back, I think it really just depends on how it's directed, because I don't even know anything about how this, like the style of this movie or what they're even going for. But I do think that if you have a really talented director and cast and crew, you can make a martial arts movie without spending a lot of money. But again, I don't even know what kind of movie this is going for. I'm hoping it's an R-rated, just kind of fun exploitation martial arts film. But those probably wouldn't make as much money as if they went for a PG-13 rating. So I'm probably hoping for a little bit too much.
I don't know, man. I hope it's a rated R film. I want to see some blood and guts. I want to see a scorpion pull somebody's head off and with their spine attached. Like, give it to me, man. Give it to me. But you might be right. They might want to keep it PG-13 just so that everybody can certainly watch it. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. With the other Mortal Kombat movies, were those rated R? Do you recall?
The first one was. I never saw the second one, so I'm actually not sure.
Okay, you probably did yourself some favors there, so don't worry about that. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely want to know your thoughts in regards to this. Now that you know that Mortal Kombat is still in the process of doing reshoots, so they haven't given up on this film. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, it certainly has made a lot of their decision making as to when this film is going to drop, when they're going to start spending money on their marketing and things like that. Definitely has put that on hold for right now. But we definitely want to know your thoughts. Does this bum you out? Does this fit well for the way that every situation is going right now? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts about Mortal Kombat in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, Stuart, we're going to go ahead and move over to one of our favorite topics, man. You know what that is? Star Wars. That's right. We're going to go ahead and jump into some Star Wars talk because, guys, over the past 3 weeks now, The Mandalorian has been on television. It's been on Disney Plus again for season 2. And people have been thrilled so far with this season, especially the way that season 3 just wind up ending here as we wind up having Katie Sackhoff guest appear as Bo-Katan. We got ourselves a little bit more Giancarlo Esposito as Moff Gideon. The cast, even Sasha Banks wind up making her debut in this episode also. So the momentum for The Mandalorian continues to rise after the success of season 1, the love of Baby Yoda, and there is a ton of question marks when it comes to the future. Where does Lucasfilm see The Mandalorian going? And we finally have some additional answers for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. This comes to us from Deadline.com, giving us some insight into what we can expect from The Mandalorian going forward. It says The Mandalorian eyes production start as spinoff. Casting and Boba Fett buzz heats up. That's right, guys. It says updated. Disney's signature original series, The Mandalorian, just returned for its second season, which had wrapped production just before the pandemic hit in March. While not officially greenlit, a third season of the hit Star Wars series has been in pre-production for months, with creator, director, and executive producer Jon Favreau publicly stating that he hoped to start filming season 3 by the end of this year. So while it's not green lit, Favreau certainly has plans to get started immediately. That may be the case, with some sources indicating that production would be starting as soon as next week or in late November, early December, while others point to spring or even fall of 2021. If you ask me, Stuart, start now while the iron is hot, man. It says the confusion stems from the level of secrecy in the Lucasfilm camp, but persistent chatter could explain the discrepancy. It says that another Mandalorian-related project spinoff, this is what they say, I hear possibly a Boba Fett miniseries would film first, starting next week or later this month, with The Mandalorian Season 3 production coming after that. It does say here that season 3 of The Mandalorian was recently listed in Production Weekly with the working title Buccaneer, sparking a guessing game among fans that the moniker may entitle. Per usual, they've been keeping things under wraps. So right now, it's a really big question. Mandalorian season 3 could potentially start filming here within the next couple of weeks, or the Boba Fett miniseries that could potentially be happening. Could be what they're referring to here within the next couple of weeks. And then season 3 of The Mandalorian taking place, as they mentioned, maybe sometime in spring or fall of 2021. So Stuart, you've been keeping up with The Mandalorian. Am I right to assume that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. The way that episode 1 ended, especially just episode 1 in general, spoiler alert for those of you who did not get the opportunity to certainly check it out. There is, in fact, a tease here of Boba Fett, not only from the reappearance of his armor, but also a Tamora Morrison appearance winds up popping up here on the planet of Tatooine, nonetheless. So clearly, there's a huge buzz when it comes to Boba Fett and really what his role is certainly going to be in this season of The Mandalorian. A part of me is kind of hoping that maybe we get to see Tamora pop up again in this series for this season, I should say. I don't know if we're going to get any more than just that brief cameo at the end, but I'm really keeping my fingers crossed and hoping so, just because of the fact that I almost want to see Boba try and find his armor or get his armor back if he can, to don that armor again. So I could see the potential here for sure. So let me ask you, Stuart, do you like the idea of a potential Boba Fett series? Because listen, this isn't the first time that they've tried to do this. If you recall, there were when Disney wind up picking up the rights to Star Wars, there was even talk of them maybe tackling Boba Fett as a movie. I believe it was Josh Trank who did Fantastic Four that was actually rumored to be connected to doing a Boba Fett film. But unfortunately, that wind up falling apart and they never pulled the trigger on it. And I think instead we wind up getting like Solo and things like that. But for the most part, any Boba Fett news has kind of been very hush hush, if you will. And so to kind of see that now Boba making his appearance in this season does make me kind of curious to see what we could potentially have. So let me ask you, Stuart, now that we have seen Boba in Mandalorian season 2, how do you like the sound of a possible spin-off series for Boba? Do you think it's a good time to go ahead and explore that character more? Or do you think this is a character that we should probably just let live and leave alone and just continue along with the Mandalorian itself? What are some of your thoughts in regards to this news?
I mean, for me, I've wanted a Boba Fett show since, like, before Star Wars TV was a thing. Like, I mean, even before Disney bought Star Wars, I always thought, like, if there was ever a character that you could do a TV show with, it's Boba Fett. The only thing that kind of concerns me about a Boba Fett series now is that with the Mandalorian being the type of show that it is, about a mercenary, not afraid to get his hands dirty, but at the same time definitely has a soft spot. That's exactly how I would have written a Boba Fett TV series, almost exactly like the way they write the Mandalorian. So that's like my only kind of concern about doing a Boba Fett TV series is that, I feel like it'll be really hard to do it without just making it almost the exact same show.
Yeah, I guess I definitely can see what you mean, because it's kind of like, we already have a Mandalorian television show. Are we now going to have 2 Mandalorian shows on TV at once, right? Like, what direction do you certainly take that particular character when you've already invested 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons by the time a miniseries winds up happening in this particular character? I mean, granted, they are their own separate and different characters. They've all gone through their own different journeys. So I'm pretty sure they probably could do something significantly different with Boba if they wanted to. But I would love to see Tamora Morrison return to go ahead and put on the costume one more time, to be honest with you. I probably would wait a little bit longer than this. I get the idea of like, hey, we just introduced them. Let's go ahead and jump off into a spinoff series. I really would like to see maybe a little bit more of Tamora Morrison in the show before I take that full leap, honestly. Because I think for me, I personally don't need a spinoff series for Boba. If Boba wanted to be contained sort of solely just in this Mandalorian series, I would be perfectly okay with that. Because I think for me, I'm eyeing very much an Ahsoka Tano spinoff. And I know that Bob Iger has talked that they really want to utilize the Mandalorian as a great launching point for several different spinoff series. There was even talks that maybe even doing like a movie for the Mandalorian at some point in time. So they definitely have big plans for it. But I'm okay if we don't get a Boba Fett spinoff. But if they gave me one, I would still eat it up regardless, just because I love that connective tissue, and just bring Tamora Morrison back for me, please.
Yeah, agreed for the most part. But yeah, I do think like he could work a lot better in his own, like just being a character in the Mandalorian, especially because his connection with the Mandalorian doesn't seem to be that big. So I think and it looks like the plot that they're going for with the Mandalorian, it looks like by the time we get to like season 3, 4, or 5, there's eventually going to be a taking back Mandalore from the Empire type of plot going on. So it would be kind of an interesting like redemption arc for Boba Fett. You know, maybe he does kind of eventually fit it more into the Mandalorian culture through that. So I think he could work better if he eventually became a series regular on the Mandalorian. But I'm sure if they do give him his own spin-off show, they will find a unique twist with it so they don't just copy and paste with the Mandalorian. That's like my biggest hope. But yeah, I'm definitely with you. I do think like if anyone should have a spin-off show, Ahsoka Tano would be like the number one thing fans would go crazy for.
Yeah, no, I definitely do think that when it comes to episode 5 is when Ahsoka makes her appearance. I think that's going to be the moneymaker episode. How good of an impression is Rosario Dawson going to make as Ahsoka Tano, and how are the fans going to react to it and take to it? And I think if it is a big reaction, a fantastic reaction, then yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get something live action from Ahsoka later on down the road. I will say this though, when it comes to Boba Fett spinoff, Stuart, it's been a long time since we've seen this guy, right? Because of the fact that these events do take place a couple of years after Return of the Jedi, there is a really big gap in a time. I don't want to say huge gap, but there is definitely a significant time period from the last time we saw Boba in the Sarlacc pit. Like, I would kind of be interested in seeing what his journey has been like in regards to having to survive the Sarlacc pit, right? Did he kill the creature while he was inside, kind of like what Mandalorian did when he wound up getting swallowed by the crate dragon in episode 1, sort of thing, right? Did he manage to survive being eaten by the Sarlacc pit? What made him have to separate himself from the armor of the Mandalorian armor and things like that? So I really would like to see what Boba Fett's life has certainly been like since possibly surviving that particular attack. So I do think that there is maybe a niche there that they probably could do for a Boba Fett spinoff series. But I'm very much like you in the sense that I do think that he could work just fine in the Mandalorian season as like a recurring character from time to time. Because when the way that we just saw episode 3 with Bo-Katan having plans on trying to retake Mandalore, I think it would be great if at some point in time Boba Fett joined in on that battle as well. So we'll see what they have. Hopefully Boba Fett makes an appearance yet again in season 2. But we're gonna go ahead and keep our fingers crossed. But yeah, either season 3 or Boba Fett. What would you like to see go into production first, Stuart?
Definitely season 3.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think they could hold off on Boba Fett just a little bit longer. Like I haven't seen anybody really asking for a Boba Fett series in a long time. I'm sure there are some people that want one, but I haven't seen a ton of Star Wars fans, on the mountaintop screaming, "Give me a Boba Fett series." But I do think that his appearance in here has definitely opened up some people's eyes once again to let us know that he is out there in the world. And so give it a little bit more time. But I agree with you. Let's do season 3 first, and then maybe we'll bring Boba Fett in at some point in time. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to know your thoughts. Do you think we're going to get ourselves a Boba Fett spinoff series? If so, how excited or what's your anticipation level for that certainly going forward? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen.
Just thought this comment was really funny. Didn't Mandalorian get I assume you meant controversial for Baby Yoda eating eggs? I don't know about Mandalorian, haven't seen it.
Yeah, there apparently I didn't know that there was that big of an uproar against episode 2, because even when I did my episode 2 review, so the idea is that the Mandalorian has to help transport this frog lady from the planet that he's on to this other planet where he has to find his Mandalorian counterparts. She knows where he can certainly do that, but the frog lady has to take her unfertilized eggs to this brand new planet to meet up with her husband, because apparently her species is going extinct. This particular planet is like the only planet that her eggs can like grow and be born on and things like that. So it's super imperative that she gets her eggs to this planet. Like, that's the journey in episode 2, right? So I get the idea that they wanted to be funny, and it's like, oh, it's Baby Yoda, he's hungry, yada yada yada. But literally, when you see Baby Yoda open up this canister of eggs and start popping them in their mouth like Tic Tacs, I'm thinking, you're killing babies, Baby Yoda. Like, you're murdering these children. What are you doing? Like, part of me chuckled, but then I was just like, oh, like, stop, please stop eating them, stop. And then they do it like throughout the entire episode, right? It's like one here, 10 minutes later, popping another one, the end of the episode, plop, like, what is going on? And so apparently, like, I even mentioned it on my review, but I had no idea that other people on the internet were just as upset, or at least just as disturbed by it as I was. Like, the showrunner came out, like, I think the person, I can't remember who came out. It wasn't Jon Favreau. It was somebody else saying that they were just trying to have a little bit of fun and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you literally just explained to us that this species is going extinct. They need to survive, and yet you got Baby Yoda just popping them in his mouth like chicken wings. Like, come on, bro. You can't do that. Frog legs must taste delicious. This kid will eat anything at this point. But yeah, definitely could start some controversy in season 2. If you haven't watched it, please go ahead and watch it and see how you feel about it. Because I even felt worse, Stuart, in episode 3 when the family finally meets each other and they're hugging and they're like, I'm so glad you're safe and happy. And I'm like, but you're 3 children short, man. Baby Yoda, like, come on, Baby Yoda, killing me here, man. But yeah. I had to go on a rant. I just thought it was funny but disturbing all at the same time.
Yeah, no, for me as well, kind of the same thing. Like, I laughed, but I was also like just kind of disturbed, especially because they did it like 3 times in the episode. But I think like it was done because like the whole thing is right now he's like watching this, as like a little kid, not really fully grasping what's going on, but still also being able to observe everything. So he's watching, this one just gunslinger killing like all these different people that come after him. So it's, he's a little child witnessing all this. So I feel like he's still himself trying to learn the difference between right and wrong. And not to mention the fact that we've seen like he's super into, eating frogs, in the past. So it's kind of like he has to kind of learn what's the difference between eating these non-intelligent frogs, that are just, there, to eating like actual frogs that grow up into intelligent like people and that kind of stuff. So I understood why they put it in there. Like, I was disturbed, but at the same time, I still totally get what they were going for there. So it didn't bother me, or it bothered me, but for the right reason, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. And you're right. I mean, Baby Yoda probably doesn't really even know the difference of what he's doing. Like, a part of me does wonder, like, when he does get to episode 3, though, and he sees, like, oh, there's a life form that's in it, like, literally comes out of the egg, and he's, like, playing with it and stuff. I'm like, yeah, dude, you ate 3 of those. And I think the one of the people that worked on the episode was kind of like, yeah, well, they were like unfertilized eggs, right? So it wasn't like they were like living creatures. And then that's just stirring up a bunch of other controversy. I'm like, God, look, man, he ate some babies. All right, that's just leave it at that. He ate some frogs. But yeah, we do know that Baby Yoda loves him some frogs. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Shadow Noah, because it was a mess the last week, man. It was a mess.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, we have, let's see here. We got 2 more topics that we're going to go ahead and break down for you guys today. So let's go ahead and finish this off. The next topic, we're going to go ahead and start transitioning over to some DC television talk, or just DC talk in general. This one is actually in regards to the movies, because listen, WB is in a hard spot right now. I would not want to be an executive over at Warner Brothers having to make these decisions on to when to release a lot of these films. One of their tentpole films that we have been waiting patiently for it seems to be like the last year or so is Wonder Woman 1984. Right now, WB has it planned to release Christmas of December here this year, but the trajectory in which movie theaters are certainly going, whether or not they're going to be opening up or not, is really putting WB in a tough spot. So the question is, Stuart, does WB release it in theaters still? Do they hold off, or do they release it on HBOMax? Let's go ahead and jump into this article. This is actually comes to us from Variety.com, letting us know that a lot of stuff is going on behind the scenes right now. Wonder Woman 1984, Warner Brothers mulls January HBO Max release, or delay to a summer in 2021. 6 weeks before Wonder Woman 1984 is scheduled to open in theaters on Christmas, Warner Brother executives are considering whether to push the highly anticipated superhero sequel to the summer of 2021 or keep the movie on its December 5th theatrical debut and then put it on HBO streaming service in early January, according to sources with knowledge of the plans. It says the pandemic first hit in March, pushing the film's theatrical release from June 15th to August 12th to October 2nd, and finally to December 25th. So that's 4 different release dates. And honestly, I don't even think June 5th was maybe the initial release date for this. It might have had another one sometime last year, honestly. But it says the COVID cases spiking at alarming rates across the country. Warner Brothers is facing this specter of another widespread shutdown, especially in major urban areas that drive the vast majority of theatrical businesses. The theatrical release could still support exhibitors on the knife's edge of collapse, while also boosting subscriber growth for HBOMax, which has struggled to build a large audience enough to compete with Netflix, Amazon, and Disney Plus. So that's really the big question, is what do they do with this particular movie? It says pushing the theatrical release yet again was always a possibility for Wonder Woman 84. In a September interview with Variety, Pedro Pascal made it clear that COVID ultimately driving their movie's fate. It says, I think anybody can be confident. I don't think anybody can be confident of anything right now, is what Jenkins says. We just don't know what the course of COVID is going to be like. So right now, Stuart, definitely seems as though they have some decisions to make. So let's see here. It says, keep the movie. What does it say? Push it to summer of 2021. Or do you keep the movie on December 25th and then put it on HBO Max streaming service in early January? So it seems as though they still plan on trying to release this in theaters, Stuart, to regardless of what the outcome is certainly going to be. But the question seems to be, if you release it here this year, this seems to be a pretty quick turnaround for HBO streaming service. If you had your way, Stuart, which direction would you say? Like if the executive Warner Brothers executives picked up the phone and they're like, Stuart, we need your assistance, man. We don't know what to do here. We've got all this money invested in Wonder Woman 1984. We need to make our money back somehow, some way. Stuart, what should we do? What would you recommend?
So 2 things I'll bring up before I talk about what I would do. One, I will say this. I think my opinion has changed so much in regards to like how they should release movies since COVID started. Because I feel like, a lot of people are probably going to look back on our earlier episodes, like very beginning of the year, where I'm kind of like, oh, just wait it out, guys. And they're going to be saying, oh, see, even you said they should just wait it out. And it's like, yes, my opinion has changed, because when I first said that, I honestly thought COVID was going to be like gone by now. I thought like it'd be by the summer. But as going back to work at the theater and kind of like now seeing how slow it is, working there every day. And on top of that, I honestly don't think we're going to be staying open that much longer because, I mean, getting open in our area, which was for a while in the not the green light, but like the level right before green. Is it yellow? Does it go like red, yellow,
Bay Area of California, right?
Yeah, exactly. We were in like one of the more clearer areas in the United States, essentially, right? And even with that, opening the theaters back up was not easy. With that being said, we've now recently learned that we're going to have to close down concession on Tuesday, which is where we make our money. So if we're not making money, I'm pretty confident that in the next couple weeks, the theaters are going to follow. So with all that being said, I think that the way I would do it personally, if I was in charge, I would release it on HBO Max first, but not have that, like, not let that mean that it's not coming back to theaters eventually. I know that right now there's always been like kind of the rule that once you release something onto like DVD, you can't put it back into theaters anymore. But I feel like, theater chains should start changing that rule because of like the situation. I don't think you can blame movie studios for wanting to get their movies out there. So I think like, yeah, even though it's not the traditional way that movies have ever done it before, they should release it for streaming services, like whether it be like a $20 or $30 fee to pay and watch it. They should do that first. And then once everything clears up, I'm sure as long as the movie is good, people will still pay to see it in the theaters because they know that's how it was meant to be seen.
You know what, Stuart? I'm going to be right there with you, man. I do love the breakdown of that. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, do I really want to see this movie pushed to summer 2021 and then still not have a guarantee that hell, even then it's going to be able to come out right? So I'm definitely feeling you here, man. I feel like, one of the, I don't want to say the mistakes of maybe Disney Plus was, I don't necessarily know if the first movie out of the gate that you want to try and do this premium access for a film, I don't know if the first film should have been Mulan. Maybe if it was like Black Widow or bigger tentpole film, like a comic book movie, maybe it probably would have done maybe even better sort of thing. But I think there is a hunger and a desire to see Wonder Woman 1984 by a ton of people. I mean, as much as they've boasted about this film, talked highly about how big this movie is, how they really just want this film to be showcased in theaters, I think there's a lot of people that really want to see this film. And I think there are few people, I do think that there's plenty of people out there that would be willing to pay an additional fee to go ahead and watch this movie on HBO Max. I don't know if they would just completely release it just free to service. Like, hey, if you're a subscriber, go ahead. I mean, maybe they certainly would. I mean, why not? I mean, HBO Max could certainly not. I don't want to say HBO Max could use all the help that it can get, because I already think HBO Max to me is like the second best streaming app that's out there right now outside of Netflix, because I think the content that they have on there is just out of this world, honestly, especially when it comes to their series. So I mean, this clearly will certainly help HBO Max in regards to its subscription base for sure. But I like that idea. I like that idea of at least releasing it on HBO Max, perhaps for a fee to go ahead and watch it. And then when the movie theaters do open up once again, try and release it in theaters. Because honestly, I don't think that the movie theaters are in any position right now to complain about what movies are going to be brought into their movie theaters, right? I mean, I know you mentioned the idea that, some movie companies, once it's released on DVD, feel a certain type of way about having it released in the movies. But I don't even think with the way that movie theaters are right now, and everybody really trying to gain money and continue to remain open and things like that, I don't think that it will be picky at all for saying, hey, I know we released Wonder Woman 1984. Everybody's probably already seen it on HBO Max, but there's nothing like seeing a movie on the big screen. And if this movie was meant to be seen in the big screen, I don't care if I've seen this movie 2 or 3 times. I mean, as long as it's good, obviously. But if the movie's good, I don't mind seeing this movie 2 or 3 times on HBO Max. And then once it's released in theaters, hell yeah, I'm about to be in front of that movie theater. Go ahead and see it. So I do think that maybe Warner Brothers can maybe double dip a little bit when it comes to this particular film. So I say give it a shot. I if anything, I would just say, Warner Brothers, don't expect to get all of your money back from this HBO Max release, though. I think they have to be patient and understand that maybe the majority of their money is going to come further down the line for a theatrical release. But if you just need some income and you just start needing some money to start trickling in, I think this is probably one of the better movies to do that with. I do think that it could be rather successful. It may not make the $1 billion that it could easily make in the movie theaters. You know what I mean? It may not even come close to that. But if you can start bringing in money at least to hemorrhage some of the financial bleeding that they're dealing with, I do think that this is a great idea. So I'm right there with you, Stuart. Release it on HBO Max first, and then once theaters do open up, bring it back out, because I'm sure the theaters would be like, please, we need big movies to go ahead and kickstart our release and our openings again. And so I think this would be a perfect choice, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, because I think it is funny because I think you and I both, if we went back to like March or even April, we were both kind of on the page of guys, just wait until after
Just
the
wait.
summer. It'll be all
Yeah.
fine.
Like the movie's coming out December, guys. Don't worry. Like we're gonna get like, and listen, it's one of those things where first off, I'm glad that you brought it up, but I hope people don't like. There's one of my biggest pet peeves and my frustration is when people hold you to things that you said months ago, right? Like it's okay for people to change their minds and their opinions on things when they have new information, right? And you start seeing how things truly are in fact transpiring. So you guys know me. I love the movie theaters. I want to see these movies in theaters, but unfortunately for us, we have a bunch of dummies out here who don't understand how to practice social distancing or wearing a damn mask that have really kept us from enjoying the things that we love in life. And the sooner we realize that when we protect ourselves and we wear masks and we do what we're supposed to, we can start having good things again. And when people understand that, maybe we'll stop being selfish and start working together in society so that we can get our movie theaters back open and so that we can start going to the theaters and start seeing some of these amazing films. So let's get our act together, man, because I really want to see this movie. Because you're right, Stuart, we were very big proponents of this movie needs to be seen in theaters, but with the way that everything's going, movie theaters shutting down, studios, I'm sure, hemorrhaging for money, you got to do what you got to do at some point in time. So as long as it does come out in theaters at some point, I'm perfectly okay with it. But if it means seeing it on television screen first, I'll take what I can get at this point, man.
Yeah. And like I said, so there was the rule anyways of, if it gets released on DVD, we can't show it in theaters. But at the same time, the theaters make that rule. So I'm pretty sure theaters themselves can change that for this make exceptions for this particular scenario.
Good point. So I certainly hope that they do. And Stuart, I'm sorry that your theater might be closing again, man. I hope that they I don't know. Do you have any plans on what you're planning on doing? Or do they like furlough you guys? Like, do they still pay you even though they're not working or they're closed or what?
Oh God, no! They're just going to give us a final paycheck if we do close. I mean, I'm not too worried. Worst case scenario, like I'm just going to be like browsing for other jobs. Like, luckily, it's not going to be as challenging as it was when it first closed down because like no place was hiring. So I'm not worried or anything like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, man, keep us posted, man. Keep us posted when it comes to your movie theater for sure, man. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. Wonder Woman 1984. What should Warner Brother executives do? Should they push back the release date for summer 2021, or are you on board with the idea of them releasing it on HBO Max and then eventually in January, or I should say, releasing it in theaters December and then HBO Max in January? Go ahead and let me know your thoughts. Like for me, I almost want them to reverse it, Stuart. I almost want them to reverse it instead of releasing it in theaters in December and then streaming on January. Just release it. Just drop it on December on the streaming service, and then maybe summer 2021, if things are cleared up, then you release it in theaters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So we'll definitely see. But let us know your thoughts, guys, and what you expect Warner Brothers to do in regards to that. But
I'm like looking for comments to see if any of them are related to Wonder Woman, and it's all turning into discussions of Fast and Furious.
Yeah, no problem. All right, guys, we got one more topic that we're going to go ahead and talk with you guys in regards to, and this is a time where we transition over to some DC television talk for you guys. A lot of our DC television shows are currently in production. I think it's right now they've got Batwoman's filming, The Flash is filming, and Black Lightning is currently filming, and I think some other ones are set to go ahead and start here rather soon if they haven't yet. But Superman and Lois, I believe, is filming as well. But one of the series that I'm really anticipating is in fact going to be Black Lightning season 4. Black Lightning is a series that for the past 3 seasons we have definitely been doing reviews for. So it's going to be fun to go ahead and tackle season 4 once again. Stuart did talk a little bit about some Stargirl news at the top of of the episode. But we wanted to go ahead and wrap up this episode talking a little bit about some Black Lightning news, because there's a ton that's being currently developed as of right now. So let's go ahead and dive into this next topic here, Stuart. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, letting us know that a Black Lightning spin-off series is currently in the works at CW. I'm sure you guys remember Jordan Calloway. Looking at that face, Mr. Painkiller himself, Khalil, the badass of Black Lightning. It says Jordan Calloway will reprise his role in Painkiller, which will air in an upcoming episode of season 4. The CW is prepping another spinoff from one of its Greg Berlanti produced DC comic dramas at this time. It's Black Lightning. The younger skewing broadcast network has put Painkiller into development. Jordan Calloway, who started with the series in season 1 and was promoted to a regular a year later, will reprise his role as Khalil Payne, aka Painkiller. The pilot for the potential series will air as a backdoor pilot and be the 7th episode in the upcoming 4th season of Black Lightning. Salim Akil, who developed Black Lightning, will pen the script, executive produce, and direct the pilot. So yeah, that's exactly what we're going to be getting. And I believe there was also some news this week too of Grace Choi, who plays, oh, I should say, oh my goodness, I just drew a complete blank. Chantal Twee, who plays Grace Choi, is actually being bumped up to a series regular as well. The partner to Anissa, for those of you who forgot who Grace Choi was. So Chantal Twee gets bumped up to a series regular, and Jordan Calloway seems to be getting his own spin-off series when it comes to the CW. Stuart, now I did a video for A Plus Hero Report earlier in this week talking a little bit about it, so I do want to go ahead and get your thoughts on it. I do know that you do watch Black Lightning, if I'm not mistaken. For me, at least, when it comes to somebody like a Jordan Calloway, who has played Khalil, aka Painkiller, for so many years, I think he's continued to grow as this character for such a long time, and I think he finally really has a grasp of who his character is certainly going to be. And just based off of the roller coaster ride that Khalil has certainly been through over the past several seasons, I feel like there's plenty that they could certainly explore with this character. I've mentioned before, maybe not necessarily my first choice for a spinoff, but considering the fact my love for Black Lightning, the idea that the showrunner is going to be tackling this as well, it gives me hope that this could actually be a pretty solid series, to be honest with you. But what are your thoughts in regards to this, Stuart? Do you think Painkiller is a good choice for Berlanti verse to go ahead and explore? What are your thoughts on his character and the idea of CW now having to grow stars? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with your first point. Like, not my first choice of a spinoff show, especially when Black Lightning really set up the Outsiders, or at least it felt like that's what they were setting up. But at the same time, I do think this, if you're going to choose one character, this definitely makes the most amount of sense. And it's funny too, because going into season 1, I actually just did not like his character, halfway through, just because I tend to like really hate the type of characters that like really just, can't just own up to their own issues and have to blame everyone around them, but I loved his redemption in season 2 and 3. So yeah, like looking at it now, I do think a spinoff show with just him could work really well, especially, if they do like their, especially if they want to kind of do like the downscale crossovers with just him and Black Lightning, because those shows I'm assuming would be filming really close to each other, so they wouldn't have to worry about having to fly all the way to Vancouver for like the bigger scale spin-off shows and things like that. So it would be kind of really cool to expand the Arrowverse in that way and everything. So yeah, I think everything going for it, I'm definitely intrigued, and I think what it said, like episode 7 of this next season would be the pilot.
Yeah, they looks like probably like the middle of the season, it feels like.
Yeah, so I guess I'll wait till I see that episode before I give my full thoughts on it. But for now, I'm definitely intrigued, and I think it has a lot of potential behind it.
Yeah, I think that's a great word. I definitely do feel it has a ton of potential for what it certainly could be. Because like I said, because of the fact that we are getting a showrunner, somebody that's familiar with the character, somebody that's familiar with the storyline, working with this character, I think is really smart. And so I do think we'll get something solid here. But we'll see what winds up happening in regards to it. But like you, I did really feel like season 3 was setting up an Outsiders television show, or at least a potential spinoff at some particular point in time. I mean, maybe they want to hold off on that for maybe one other season, maybe develop those characters a little bit more so we get invested before they just launch off into a spinoff series. But that's really where my attention certainly was. I was really hoping that we would get an Outsiders spinoff series, but that's certainly more than fine. What do you think about the idea of Grace being bumped up to a series regular? One of my complaints was always it was always hard for me to believe the love between her and Anissa, because we never really got to see them on screen enough, but anytime they're back on screen, they're like, I love you, I want to be with you, let's get married. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You guys have been on like 2 dates this entire season. Like she's been MIA for like a half a season. Like, what's going on here? So it not always the most believable, but I do think that they took some really great steps in season 3 to establish their relationship a little bit more. So for me, at least, I kind of like the idea of Grace being bumped up to a series regular, because I've been ready for some development for her character along with her partnership with Anissa. So what are your thoughts on that, though?
To me, for her, it always kind of felt like they were writing as like making stuff up on the spot as they went along. Like they didn't know which episode she'd be available for, and so she would show up and then be like, "Oh, here's your arc here, I guess." But now that she's a series regular, I feel like they can finally do some more stuff with her, and then hopefully tied into the Amazons, because she was like an Amazonian in the comic books, but she never had the shape shifting powers, at least not that I know of in the comics either. So it's either like a completely different version of a character with the same name, or maybe she's an Amazon and who just happens to have metahuman powers on top of being an Amazon. So I'm really hoping we get something like that, because it feels like, I know that they have said that Wonder Woman exists in the Arrowverse, but I'm always like a sucker for those Easter eggs that kind of keep coming up to like just give you that confirmation. So I would love it if that was like kind of a small thing that they did to really give you that confirmation of, hey, Wonder Woman totally exists in the Arrowverse, guys.
I also, they also mentioned in one of the articles that I was reading that she's actually the half sibling to Ryan Choi, that we saw from Crisis on Infinite Earths, who plays the Atom, which I didn't even really make that connection until I wind up reading it in the article. I think they said that they're half siblings, I think. And because I think she even highlighted it in one of her responses in the news article that I wind up reading, that she would love to have a crossover between Grace and Ryan, or at least have them bump into each other. I would wonder if they took that into consideration when making this series. But I think because of the fact that Grace was always, I've always seen Black Lightning in like a different world, or different Earth, if you will, when it was initially released. But now that they share sort of this new prime Earth of theirs, I'm wondering if that's even a connection in Arrowverse. Do you think they'll play that up at all, or no?
I hope so. Only because, like, after watching this, last season of Legends of Tomorrow, I'm stuck kind of like wondering what was even the point of introducing Ryan Choi if they're not doing anything with him. So I would love it if he was in this, because then it's like, oh, okay, so introducing his character wasn't completely pointless.
Yeah, no, I feel you there, because I was about to ask you the same thing. Like, has he popped up on Legends of Tomorrow? I thought that was the point of him coming into Crisis, was that he was supposed to join that crew at some point in time, but I guess not. So we'll see if we've seen the last of Ryan Choi. I hope not. I definitely hope he pops back up in here. Like, if there is any place for him to pop back up, if they're not utilizing him, hey, we'll take him over here on Black Lightning if we want to add Adam to our this particular series. I'll definitely go ahead and take it. But we'll see what happens. But listen, congratulations though. Definitely has to go out to Chantel Twee for being bumped up to series regular, and just Jordan Calloway also. I mean, I really enjoy Khalil. He's easily in my top 3 favorite characters just because of all the crap that this guy has been through, his redemption arc, and his ups and downs that he's certainly struggling with his inner self now. So I'm really intrigued to see what Jordan Calloway is going to bring in. And I said this all season long last year when we were doing our reviews for season 3, was that I really want to see Jordan get that opportunity to be in like a big sort of tentpole DC film or Marvel, because the guy just continues to showcase like that. Not only is he a great actor, but physically he can do whatever you certainly need him to do. So I'm really impressed with both of them, and I'm glad that they're both getting this opportunity. Again, not our first choice for a spinoff, but considering where Jordan Calloway and Khalil have certainly come as a character, you definitely have my attention, CW. So hopefully this turns out to be something fantastic.
And hopefully it's not another Arrow and the Canaries thing where they announce it and then it never gets picked up.
It never happens, right? And I think that's the situation that WB kind of is in right now, right? Stephen Amell is gone, Melissa Benoist is gone. Who knows how long we have till Grant Gustin winds up leaving? CW really needs to start establishing stars and making great content that's going to hold itself over, if you will, right? I mean, I don't want to say they've got competing TV series now in like HBOMax stuff, but there's a big significant jump in production, right? And so you still want people to still want to come back over to the CW, see your DC television universe, your Berlantiverse or Arrowverse or whatever it is that you want to call it. But by creating new stars, creating new content, that's exactly how you have to go about doing it. So I like seeing WB at least taking that chance. We'll see if any of these spinoffs, though, really hold water and keep people's attention to the CW going forward. So we'll see what winds up happening here. But I do think that's important that CW does start doing that.
See, I saw one a minute ago.
Oh, a comment?
Oh, yeah, here we go. It's just kind of funny. Yeah, anytime we bring up Black Lightning, of course, Static Shock always has to come up, which I fully agree. I think Static Shock, as much as I'm looking forward to a movie, I feel like it would fit in really well on the CW, especially in the Arrowverse.
Yeah, that was another spinoff I was hoping that we would maybe get the opportunity to see also. But who knows? Maybe Static is maybe Painkiller is where Static is introduced and he goes on to do other things. Who knows?
That would be awesome. Trying to see if I can find any other related comments.
All right, we'll definitely, if not, we'll definitely jump back into it because I do want to go ahead and tackle some of the live viewer questions, and then we'll jump back into some of these comments real quick and talk about them. So let's jump over to our live viewer questions segment of the show. We've got a couple of set of questions here. Let me just make sure just as a quick reminder for the future, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you have a live viewer question that you want to make sure gets answered on air, feel free to submit your questions over at any time. aplusopinions@gmail.com. So again, aplusopinions@gmail.com. If there's something that you read throughout the week or something that really piques your interest that you want to make sure gets talked about at the end of each of our episodes, that's how you go about doing so. So aplusopinions@gmail.com. So let's go ahead and jump into the questions that we do have and start breaking them down. This comes from Jessica Friedman. Are there plans to bring back past cast members for the final season of Supergirl, and has Stargirl started filming? Stuart, in regards to Stargirl, are you familiar if it has started filming? I believe it has, though.
Not that I know of, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it has.
I want to say that I saw some photos of Yvette Monreal, who plays damn it, what's her name in the Stargirl show? Hellcat? No, Hellcat's a Marvel. Wildcat. The actress that plays Wildcat. I thought I saw some behind the scenes pictures of them on set. So a part of me wants to say that Stargirl is currently filming. I want to say that it is currently filming, but I can always go ahead and double check. As far as any past cast members, are there plans to bring back past cast members for the final season? It would be hard to imagine them not planning on doing that. I mean, wrapping up this season, like I wouldn't be surprised if Wynn makes a return. I wouldn't be surprised if Monel comes back. I wouldn't expect. I would be surprised if maybe Linda Carter winds up popping back up in this season somehow, some way. Yeah, I do think that some past cast members, maybe even can they bring back Mekhi Brooks, who played James Olsen? I think that would be really great. So I think they are planning something to have some people come back. If you had to pick, Stuart, is there anybody in particular you would like to see return?
Obviously, the two obvious ones would be for me, Monel and Jimmy Olsen. But one that would be really cool because they could finally wrap up the like kind of cliffhanger at the end of season 1. It'd be really awesome if they brought back Maxwell Lord.
Oh, what was that open? What was the open? Do you remember what the open-ended storyline was that they didn't close?
Just the fact that he's still out there.
Oh, that's right.
If I remember correctly, like they never they never arrested him at the end of season 1, right?
I can't remember, bro. It's been so long since I've watched season 1. I can't recall.
But they may not be allowed to use him though because of a Wonder Woman. I'm not sure. Because it's always the DC embargoes are always so random.
Well, now after Crisis, I don't even know if there are embargoes. I'm hoping they're just like, just do whatever you want, guys. Use whoever characters you want. Also, quick honorable mention, Cat Grant. I would love to see Clarissa Flockhart come back. Like just one appearance, Clarissa, please. Like even if it's just a video conference call or something. Like I just want to see your face on Supergirl again, please, because I thought she was such a great part of the series, the first 2 seasons. So if there's a way they can get her out to Vancouver, or at least just film something of her delivering a message or just something on television or whatever the case may be, I would love to see a returning Cat Grant.
Just have her become the CEO again, but have it be that she doesn't want to leave her country that she's currently in. So her entire thing is just filmed at home over Skype.
Yes, exactly. Just do that. Perfect. Living in the pandemic that we are in right now. Why not? This next set of questions comes from AJ, also Bacon and Sushi. He says 2 questions. Our lives right now is surrounded by COVID-19. What do you guys think if years later Hollywood made a movie about the pandemic and had people wear masks the entire time? Do you think it's a bold move if we made a movie about COVID-19 since it's a reality as of now? I wouldn't be surprised if they are already making a film. I mean, I feel like some movies are already kind of highlighting that idea. Have you seen anything yet that's specifically COVID-19 related by any chance, Stuart, in regards to television series or movies?
There was one movie and I was really kind of disappointed by it, but it was called Corona Zombies, and it was like literally a zombie apocalypse film about the coronavirus. But the reason I saw it though was because it was released by Full Moon Entertainment, and I love them. They do they are the perfect studio when it comes to so bad it's good type of films. Okay. But unfortunately, this one was kind of disappointing because it was just like one person staying inside listening to the news of a zombie apocalypse, and the news itself was stock footage of other Full Moon movies just redubbed, essentially. But there was one thing I thought was hilarious about this film, and that is like it used stock footage of the actual news as well. And this is in canon of the movie, it's a zombie apocalypse that they're calling COVID-19. And what's funny is they use like they get footage of people, essentially kind of the anti-maskers, I guess, kind of going, it's my right. I don't think they should have to shut these places down. But then they redub the reporter going, yeah, but it's a zombie outbreak. Like, what if you get bit? What if you get infected? And they're like, well, if I get infected, that's just how it is. Like, I thought that's really
pretty
funny.
That's pretty genius, actually. That's kind of cool how they flipped that. I mean, the idea of a COVID-19 film was like, what are you going to film? Like just somebody sitting at home all day because they can't go anywhere? Like a COVID-19 film about social distancing. Like nothing happens. They just try and find something to do for months on end. Maybe you could do like a mental sort of like mental breakdown film of somebody that's stuck inside from social distancing and watch them slowly have a mental break inside. I think that would be pretty interesting for like a thriller or like a horror movie or something like that. Those are some ideas. I mean, I haven't seen anything COVID specific But I do feel like since then there's been a few like television series and movies that I've seen that have been about like outbreaks or viruses and things like that. So somebody will make a movie eventually, if not at least seeing like more people wearing masks in the movie because it's taking place in like current day, right? Like it may not deal with coronavirus, but maybe it at least mentions that it's out there, and so you see a social distancing practiced on screen, if you will. You know what I mean? So maybe it's something along those lines.
I actually can't believe I forgot to mention this. So Stephen Ford, he was the actor in Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. He's like currently a director. He does like a lot of short films now on his YouTube channel. He did a short film called 2020. It's about a little over 20 minutes long, I think. But anyways, it's a parody of the movie 1917. Have you seen that film, 1917?
Oh, no, I haven't yet. I haven't. I think that happened just around the time like was the pandemic about to hit or something like that. I don't think I went out to the movies. I missed it though. Regardless, I missed it.
I think it came out December.
Like December, right? Yeah, I think it was like that holiday season.
Really amazing movie, all done in one single take, or made to look like it was done in one single take, not like actually one take, but really well directed. But anyways, this short film is a parody of it. But again, it's kind of like what I brought up with WandaVision, with the idea of satire that's taken very seriously. And that's what this 2020 film is that it's a real fun parody of 1917, but there's so much effort put into how they filmed it. It's freaking amazing. It's actually one of the best short films I've ever seen, and I'm not over exaggerating there. But yeah, it's directed by Stephen Ford, Kamen Rider from Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, and I definitely recommend checking it out.
All right, yeah, no, I'll definitely go ahead and do that. You said it was a short film, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. About like 20 something minutes. And it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll definitely look it up then. And then AJ had one more question. He says, with the Hasbro Power Ranger movie, do you think the general public will really like it and the box office would actually be good this time if the Rangers fought human-looking foot soldiers instead of guys in rubber monster suits, so people could actually take the movie seriously and not just feel it's another take on a cringy, cheesy TV show? And would you like if the main villain was an evil ranger, either similar to Lord Draken or an evil ranger who is entirely new? So there you go. It's Stuart, I'll hand this to you real quick first. With the Hasbro movie, do you think the general public will really like it and the box office would actually be good this time? But he's saying because of the fact that they changed the elements of the villains.
It depends on the movie itself. It's a little too early to say anything because I don't even know what to expect from this movie. But one thing I always try to, or not always, but, I'll try to convince like people every once in a while is like the idea of, yes, I know Power Rangers as a show is really silly. You got people in spandex fighting people in really cheesy rubber suit monster outfits. But I'm always like trying to say, come on, there are some really good seasons out there though, like RPM, Jungle Fury, all of them. Don't judge a book by its cover for this. And what I think could happen with this movie is that, you always get that like feeling of nostalgia for something that you watched as a kid when a new movie in that franchise comes out, and it gives you like that idea of wanting to go back and revisit it. So what I'm hoping this movie does is it convinces people to not just revisit Mighty Morphin this time, but also, maybe check out some of the other seasons that have come before it or come after Mighty Morphin. And, maybe if this movie is like fully in continuity with the show, that'll kind of be that motivation of, so it'll like be in continuity with all these seasons, maybe make reference to these seasons. Now I should probably check out an episode or two. So, if anything, I'm just hoping people who see this movie are more open-minded to check out some of the lesser known seasons of Power Rangers.
I get you. I definitely understand that. I think I don't necessarily know I feel like this question is kind of implying that the reason why the movie failed was because of the cheesy villains, and I think there's more to it than that. I think the focus of it just continues to be story. I don't necessarily know if it means the villains of the 2017 Power Ranger movie made this film not successful. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I mean, for me, I wasn't the biggest fan of the putties anyway. I thought they were I wasn't the biggest fan of their design. But then again, I wasn't really the biggest fan of how they showcased the Power Rangers in this movie, as far as like really showcasing their fighting abilities and things like that. I think I felt very much like it was skimmed over for just the last 20 minutes of the film for an action piece. So I just think it's better, maybe better storytelling, which I was on part with, but I think it's a combination of storytelling and pacing of the film. Where you put your action pieces at, how you tell your story, where your momentum is at, how you build, to a crescendo, to your climax and things like that. So maybe a better formatting of the story probably would certainly help. I think, if you want to redesign the villains, yeah, I do think a redesigning of the villains would certainly help out. I don't think it would certainly hurt any. But I very much am always a believer in, I like villains that are human form. Elizabeth Banks's Rita, I thought she was brilliant. Minion wise, I think they probably could have come up with something better, honestly. But if they want to go Lord Zed, if they want to go, Evil Ranger, just somebody has those human elements that doesn't look too over the top monster with like a big ridiculous mask, because I do think that is something important about being able to see the emotions and the facial features of your villains. So for me, it just really adds to the depth and the emotion of the story itself, to really like heighten a sense of like danger or whatever the case may be. I do think there's something important about having some sort of human villain involved. So maybe they'll do that this time around, but I don't think that hindered the 2017 movie or would make a movie successful or it being a flop. In fact, Stuart, I'm not even sure that this movie will come out in theaters. Honestly, when you have a movie that just came out, 3 years ago, that didn't do anything at the box office, and now you're expecting to release another movie 5 years later, 4 years later, and expect a different outcome. I think that's I don't know how smart that is. Again, going back to the pandemic and where we've seen the movie theater business at right now, I don't know if this movie would make its money back if it was released in the movie theaters within the next year. So I'm thinking maybe straight to a streaming service type of movie. Maybe it cuts back on them on the risk that Hasbro financially has to take on this movie, to avoid another flop at the box office. I mean, I personally would love to see it in movie theaters, but I'm wondering if financially the best decision for them would be direct to a streaming service. And again, I don't think that's a judge of the movie. I don't think that's hey, your movie's terrible, it's not good enough to be in theaters, because we have seen some really good movies go straight to streaming services in the past on Netflix or HBO Max or Amazon Prime. So it is possible, right? Netflix movies have won awards, if I'm not mistaken, at the Oscars, or at least been nominated for that type of stuff. So I'm still leaning towards streaming service. Stuart, what do you think though, man? Where's your mindset at?
I think it could definitely do a theatrical release. They definitely need to be very clear though with the look of the movie, like whether it be like kind of the color palettes that they use or just the design of the costumes. They need to make it very clear this is not the same franchise as the movie that came before. And the other thing, and this may sound dangerous, but I think I've seen action movies that can pull this off, lower the budget a bit. Just to prepare for the worst, because you were with the last movie not being as successful as they wanted it to, and this one is going to be now competing against a lot of movies that didn't get released in 2020 and then are probably going to be held back till 2021 and 2022, and those are the movies it's going to be competing with. Prepare for the worst, so don't give it the biggest budget, but also make sure to have fun with it and make sure it's very clearly not, you make it clear to the audience once they see the trailer, the moment they see the design of the suits, the audience will go, okay, this is definitely not the same Power Rangers from 2017.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I like the idea of maybe a smaller budget. The budget here was about about 100, was it 100 million? It looks like, yeah, $100 million for the budget of this film, and it wound up bringing in about 142 million. So, so yeah, you could see there. I mean, I don't know how much lower you go. I guess I think the idea of like the suits, the Megazord battles, special effects. I don't really know how much special effects and things like that cost. I mean, maybe they could make it at 80 million, maybe 75 million, and still put together a great movie. So it's definitely possible, Stuart. It's definitely possible. So we'll see what happens with the outcome of this film, if it gets a theatrical release, if it goes straight to streaming, and what significant changes they certainly make to let people know, like, hey, I know you gave us a shot 3 years ago in 2017 and that didn't work out so well. Here's our second attempt. I hope more people come out to see this film, that it is in fact significantly different. So maybe they'll have maybe they'll have a different vibe to it that people will be certainly attracted to. So we'll see what happens though.
Yeah, and then the other thing, for the definitely have it a little more action packed than the 2017 movie, because one thing I've kind of discovered is that a lot of people, I think a lot more adults, ended up really liking the 2017 Power Rangers movies. But the kids, like my little brother, couldn't finish it because he just got bored, like literally 40 minutes into it. So at the very least, if you're going to have a very character focused movie, which nothing wrong with that at all, even with the Power Rangers movie, I think character focus is great. You should have, I think, if they had at least opened it up with a great action scene, like maybe before we see Zordon being defeated, maybe we actually see like an epic fight with the Green Ranger, like who was Rita. I think if they did something like that, people would have at least known to anticipate a good action scene coming to the end. And then also stick the landing with the action scene, because then I feel like the fight was way too short at the end.
Yeah, way too short, man. Way too short. And and for me, I was a really big fan of the opening for this movie. I thought it was great to just literally throw you into this world where you just jump into the destruction or whatever the ramifications of a huge battle that just sort of took place. So I honestly thought it was a really great way to jump into a film. But I agree with you. I do think that maybe if they added a little bit more action, regardless of wherever it was at in this film, certainly would have gone a long way. And that's what I mean about how you pace your movie. Where your ups and your downs, if you're just constant character development, and then action at the end, can I get maybe some highs and lows throughout this movie to keep my attention, and from those moments where it is just story driven and lulls. Again, I'm not complaining about the story elements because I really enjoyed it and I thought we got some great characters out of it, honestly. But when I'm coming to see a Power Ranger film, I'm looking to see some suits. I'm looking to see some fighting, some martial arts, some action, hand-to-hand combat, whatever the case may be, and some Zord battles. And unfortunately, it's almost like they forgot the Power Ranger aspect of Power Rangers for a little bit. So I definitely can see the complaints, but I also can see the praise for the film also. So hopefully they'll learn from their mistakes and we'll get something significantly different going forward. But I think that's going to do it for all of our, at least live viewer questions from our email account. So remember, guys, in the future, if you do have any live viewer questions, submit them over to aplusopinions@gmail.com anytime during the week to make sure that your question gets answered live on air. So other than that, Stuart, let's go ahead and wrap up, man. We'll just jump into some of these comments if there's anything in particular that really jumped out at you. And,
kind of wish I brought this one up earlier, but Miles Morales, I'm so glad. Okay, so I thought this was supposed to be only on PS5, so I'm actually really glad to hear that it's on PS4 as well.
Yeah, I completely forgot about PS4. I've been seeing so much PS5 memes and pictures online, and people doing a little Spider-Man, Miles Morales, whatever case may be, like a little wiggle that he does. I'm glad that you picked it up, man. Let me know how you like it, Shadow Nova. I've been hearing some great things about it.
And then this I thought was kind of funny. So his stand-up, I guess, is usually stuff about him, about food and laziness. It's like, hey, I relate to both of those things. Yay. So maybe you're right, Adam. Maybe I should definitely check out his stand-up.
I promise it wasn't because I felt you related to it. I promise, Stuart. No, with your humor, I honestly thought, I feel like Jim Gaffigan would be like maybe right up your alley. So I think Hot Pockets, check it out, man, when you get a chance, bro. Check it out. I feel like I'm really surprised, Stuart, that you haven't. I would think Jim Gaffigan would be like, I guess I thought more people knew about Jim Gaffigan. So I guess that's what it was.
I'm sure plenty of people do. I think the issue is I just don't listen to enough stand-up comedy on my own. Usually if I'm watching some stand-up comedy, it's because someone else kind of brings it up. I'm hanging out with someone, they're like, hey, let's watch Bill Burr, let's watch Gabriel Iglesias. So yeah.
I'm the same way. I don't really just put on things unless it's like Dave Chappelle. Maybe I'll definitely, we'll definitely throw it on without anybody asking. But I'm the same way when it comes to stand up. I usually have to, somebody has to usually put it on, or be at somebody else's place and they're watching it, or they suggest it, or I'm just on YouTube or Facebook and a random comedy clip pops up type of thing, you know? But yeah, check it out if you ever get a chance. Let's see here. Fast 9 got pushed to May 28th, 2021. I can't remember if we talked about that previously or not, but yeah, a ton of this stuff is coming, is being delayed. Bacon and Sushi, did you guys see the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion special that's coming to HBO Max? I noticed that there was a trailer for it, but I personally did not get the chance to see it. And honestly, I think a part of me wants to see it, but I might be brought to tears that Uncle Phil isn't there, man. Mm-hmm. And I think I might be brought to tears just hearing them talk about his passing and stuff, and for him not to be in the reunion. I'm sure they'll probably do something special for him, you know what I mean? But still, man, it's gonna be heartbreaking to watch. But I think it's cool. I want more reunion specials, honestly. Did you see the trailer for this?
No, this is actually the first time I'm hearing about this, but I'm definitely gonna go check it out. I remember hearing a pitch a while ago, and I don't know if this was a joke pitch or if it was like actually serious, where it would be Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but like literally the exact opposite plot, where like Will Smith's son would be like, you know, super spoiled growing up. So Will Smith decides to move to like kind of a more ghetto area because of that. Like, I just remember hearing that pitch and going, that sounds amazing.
That does sound pretty amazing. They're supposed to be doing a reboot, I think, of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air too. I thought I was reading of that they were thinking about rebooting the series.
I wonder if that's the purpose of the reunion special. See how that does, and then if people like it, then yeah, reboot it.
You're probably right. I didn't even think about that as a testing in a sense. But I mean, who everybody loves a good reunion also. But I feel like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air has gained a lot more popularity since it was brought back onto HBO Max. Because honestly, I was binging. Me and the girlfriend would binge episodes for hours sometimes of Fresh Prince, just going back. And it's just amazing, Stuart, how the comedy still holds up to this day. It's still so damn funny after all these years. I'm always blown away by that. How comedies, like how certain shows can like really stand the test of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I might go back and watch some, because I haven't watched it since like back when it would air on Nick at Night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely check. Man, I'm so old. I remember watching it when it would actually come on TV. So I'm so old. AJ says, do you guys think the Fast and the Furious franchise changed drastically in storytelling from being originally a car racing film to a heist in order to keep audience entertained? I don't think not much you can do if it's the same formula for every film. I feel like AJ just almost answered his own question. Yes, it did change drastically. Definitely from race car filming to heist. I mean, I definitely always feel like there was an element of some like, hey, I need to kick your ass element in it. But this is just like, I mean, we're talking not even just heist, but like spy espionage heist level stuff now at this point, with really outrageous. It just feels like Fast and the Furious just understood what it was and just decided to finally have some fun with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a heist. Like the first movie was a heist movie as well. That's just right. Not just on a much smaller scale.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But it's just that, yeah, after the franchise like completely changed directions, you know, it just became like, now we're doing heists on these like, you know, ridiculous level scales in Fast 5. And then it went from that to, okay, now suddenly we're superheroes in order to, you know, get a pardon from a police officer, which I still don't think that's how that works, but you know what? I don't care, because at least it's some fun movies.
Yeah, definitely. Just real quick, this one for Power Rangers in your area. I still haven't watched any Mandalorian. If you have Disney Plus, Alec, I would definitely recommend it, man. The episodes are not that long at all, especially the first season. I mean, some of them are less than 30 minutes long, honestly, or just a little bit over 30 minutes. You could literally binge an entire season of Mandalorian in one day if you honestly wanted to. I don't think it would take that much time. What do you think, Stuart?
Yeah, definitely. Like, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, like, I do recommend Mandalorian to like everyone, because I think even when it goes into deeper Star Wars lore, it does it in such a simplistic way that makes it so anyone who's a newcomer to the show can easily follow along. And I think that helps. It's helped by the fact that we're following a character who's almost just as in the dark as the audience that's never seen Star Wars is.
That's a good point. That's actually a really good point, because he's learning about stuff along with us as a viewer. It feels like as we're going along. But you're right. I feel like it is a great starting off point. Like, even if you're not used to this world of Star Wars, but you want to get a taste of Star Wars and see what people are talking about, I do think that The Mandalorian is a great leaping off point. So good point there. Man, Bacon and Sushi says yesterday was the 1-year anniversary since Arrow wrapped production. So sad. So sad. I miss that. I miss it.
But I am kind of glad that it did end on a good note. And it didn't and season 8 wasn't as bad as like seasons 3 and 4.
Yes. Yes. I agree with you.
Okay. Yes. Going to the opposite of what I brought up earlier. So there's a movie on Netflix that's a spoof of the Fast and Furious franchise. And going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, when I said about putting effort into satire and all that, and that always leading to great comedy and everything. You know, this is in the same vein though as like the epic movie, disaster movie type things. Like, first of all, how do you parody something like Fast and Furious, which is already like a parody in itself? You know, but yeah, like I've never been a fan of a lot of those the parody movies that came out during the writer strikes, because man, they just look like they just didn't even care. Like, not just on a production wise, but like joke wise and writing wise, it felt like they just didn't want to make these movies like while they were making them.
No, it definitely feels that way. I definitely see what you're saying there, man. Let's see here. Bacon and Sushi. So is Melissa Benoist going to film all her scenes in January or February? That also means most of the final season we don't see her much. I would assume that she's filming already. Or at least I mean she's already given birth. It's been several weeks, so if anything, I would assume that she's probably almost getting ready to kind of go back to work. I mean, if anything, I'm sure that there are some scenes that they can film without her, but I'm expecting her to be in most of the season. I can't imagine her not being in her final season much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And plus, like, if she hasn't started filming yet, I think that's because that's why they haven't announced Supergirl's release date yet, because it is supposed to start later than the other shows.
Yeah, you're probably right in regards to that. Let's see here. What do you think is the best show you've watched this year, Stuart?
Best show, if it's best show that came out this year, probably, even though it's only 3 episodes in, probably Mandalorian. But in terms of best show that I've watched this year overall, oh God, best might be the wrong word though. Favorite, but not best. Definitely not best. I've really gotten into this series called Nathan for You, and I'm sad that it only lasted 4 episodes. But it's one of the funniest shows I think I've ever seen. Essentially, it's a reality show, but the guy hosting it, he kind of plays it off like he's a fictional character, but he goes around helping all these kind of failing businesses, giving them out of the box ideas, except for these out of the box ideas are just really dumb and they don't do harm to the business, but they also don't help them at all. And it just leads to, but the people go along with him because they're like, this guy has a film crew, so clearly he knows what he's talking about, right? And nope. The reactions you get from it are just what kind of make it hilarious. And yeah, like I said, a lot of prank shows I'm not a huge fan of because it's just, harassing people for laughs, but this doesn't feel that way. It never feels mean-spirited, essentially. He never goes too far with these pranks. Like I said, he never does harm to the business, but he just doesn't really help them.
Okay. I may have to check that one out, man. Yeah, there's so many. I'm trying to think what else I watched this year. For me, my best show that I've watched this year was probably Watchmen on HBOMax.
Shit, I forgot. Yeah, that too.
I had a couple people say that they watched it. Some people were saying that they were confused by it a little bit. I honestly wasn't. I mean, I felt like I thought it was just really great storytelling. Honestly, it just blew me away. Honestly, this is probably my best show that I've watched this year. And there's a few like Doom Patrol was pretty solid. I want to say that there's another one off the top of my head that I'm honestly forgetting about right now. Like Umbrella Academy season 2 was pretty good. But if I had to say the best show that I've watched this year, damn, even Cobra Kai has been pretty good, surprisingly. But for me, a Watchmen. I think Damon Lindelof is a master about what he did with this season. So a limited series because it's only one season long, but Watchmen.
People find it confusing?
I've heard at least maybe one or two people I've talked to said that they had a hard time following it, but I certainly didn't.
Yeah, I'd say it was confusing in the first few episodes, but it was done that way on purpose. I feel like, once you watch it all the way through, it's like, oh, this all makes sense now.
Yeah, Damon Lindelof is just one of those type of writers that that's how he conducts a lot of his stuff. There's always there's always a sense of intrigue, mystery, secrets sort of involved. Like the way he tells his story, things will slowly get revealed, and you start revealing the connections and stuff as the season winds up progressing. It's very similar to what he did with like Lost in the beginning and things like that. Anything Damon Lindelof touches, I feel like has that type of flair to it. But dealing with the world of Watchmen and Dr. Manhattan and amazing performances from Regina King also. Just some stellar storytelling. There's a reason why they wind up winning an Emmy for an outstanding drama series, I believe it was this year. So kudos to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, check it out if you guys don't get it, if you guys haven't got a chance. And we'll end off on I'll have one more question. Let's end up on this one because we haven't talked about this in a while. What did you guys like about the Netflix Daredevil and Punisher series? Would you like a crossover with them in the MCU in the future? First off, Stuart, do you think any of these Netflix characters will pop up in the MCU, like as from Netflix series?
Going back to that answer, I feel like I give a lot. I hope I'm wrong, but no, I don't think it's going to happen. To me, I've been getting like this vibe that Kevin Feige doesn't actually consider, with the only exception being Agent Carter. I don't think Kevin Feige really considers any of the MCU TV shows to be or not MCU TV, technically Marvel TV shows to be canon at all. I don't even know if he ever did, like back when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. premiered, but it felt like the only exception was Agent Carter, and that was only because they had actual like writers from the films like working on it. So if I'm being honest, I would love that to happen. Especially, I would love to see a Punisher film with the same actor. I don't think it's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, don't get me, I would love to see John Bernthal back though, and Charlie Cox. Like, if they wanted to bring him back to reprise those roles, it's not like it hasn't been done before. But maybe just without that previous connection to the MCU. And I don't know if that would, to the Netflix series, like them just starting over, if you will, but with the same actors. I wouldn't mind that because we've kind of seen that a little bit with J. Jonah Jameson coming back, in this current MCU, even though he's still playing the same character, just not that character from the other universe. So I would be okay with it, but I don't think that we'll get a crossover like that in the future. But I did love both of the series. Daredevil, by far, for me, was my favorite. I thought Charlie Cox was just an amazing Matt Murdock. That last season, season 3 with Kingpin and Daredevil, I thought was brilliant. The season 2 was just okay for me. But I overall, I really enjoyed it, though. I thought the performances were absolutely amazing. Cast was brilliant. Anthony DiForino, I can't remember the guy that played Kingpin, but talk about amazing casting for Kingpin also.
I would love Kingpin in the next Spider, and especially because he's been bringing it up so much, but it's probably not going to happen. But I would love if that actor were in the next Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, I absolutely would too. But yeah, great series, to say the least. Sad to see them go, but hopefully some of these actors will in fact return at some point in time. But other than that, guys, I think that's going to do it for us here at A Plus Hero Report. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. But thank you, everybody, for certainly spending your weekend with us. I'm probably going to clean my apartment a little bit and go ahead and then binge on some football the rest of the day. So I'm excited to go ahead and get my weekend started. So I hope each and every one of you are as well. But Stuart, before we go, guys, if anybody wants to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, sir, where can they find you at?
You guys can follow me at TurboStew01 on Twitter. You can also check out my old channel, Turbo Studios.
Awesome, Stuart. Thank you very much for certainly joining us today, man. And of course, guys, listen, as always, we'll be back certainly next Sunday for you guys live at 11 a.m. Central Time. Again, throughout the week, if you see any articles or topics that got brought up that you want to go ahead and further talk about, feel free to go ahead and submit your live viewer questions over to us, and we'll definitely talk about them next weekend. But other than that, guys, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so right here at A Plus Opinions. Find us on our main hub page on Facebook. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch for you gamers. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet for A Plus Hero Report, do yourselves a favor, hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification, so when we do drop brand new videos, you will certainly be notified. Other than that, guys, that's it for us. So definitely take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next time. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A plus. Bye.